All right.
All right.
Are you?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. You know, you've been hearing us give this spiel and talk about what we're doing and what we're planning on doing this entire time and making the connections. And we finally got in and were able to run our workshop in CTF in Soledad. So that it was great to actually get in there. I mean, we went in and we've done many workshops, we've been in doing things, but this is the first time we were able to go in and bring our program to the guys inside. So it was something different, it was something new, and we think it went really well. As you know myself, Michael Todd, you know Morgan. I want to introduce Wynn. She is on our board. Um, she is awesome. I don't know if she can talk too much, but
What do you want me to say?
just say hi. You just
Hi,
tell them who you are.
everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I finally get to join. I'm on a break from in between semesters, so I have time this right now. I'm so happy to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you. That's the shyest she's ever been.
Shut up, Mike.
That's
I mean, I
okay.
can talk, but I don't want to take the whole meeting. So
We, we go to punk rock shows together, so that's a thing.
That right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we put you on the spot there, Win. There will be a lot more talking times, but we just really wanted to, yeah, thank everyone for being here. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of go through the synopsis of the workshop from when you've heard it way back when to now. We can show you some visuals, and then we'd love to introduce our volunteers who came in with us, Dave and Judy Flattery, and hear their perspectives and their takeaways and their experiences from it because it was their first time going through it as well. And then, we'll open the floor and discussion. We came back, every time that I go into prison, I come back so nourished and fulfilled and exhilarated, exhausted, and also exhilarated, and just, rearing to do more. So we received some really beautiful feedback. We had a small, intimate group, which meant for, more connection to happen, and we just can't wait to share. So, Michael, should I share and do the synopsis kind of framework and then, or do you want to do that part?
Yeah, I mean, we can get there, but just a little background, so we had reached out to CTF. We had a meeting with their CRM there, and she was very open to introducing a new program. I talked to her about it. So, but one of the things that we joke about is because after introducing the program to her, she said, "Look, I don't care even if you bring it to the guys, I want to take your class." So, we were happy there. So she's invited us to come in and do, she had actually offered to give us 2 weeks in a row if we wanted to run two workshops. She said, if you want to come in and run a class, you can do that. So we are going to try to get some grant funding to see if we can be in there in Soledad in a fairly consistent basis. Uh, but she put some sign up sheets for us. We put some flyers up and nobody knew who we were. They didn't. So we got about 50 signups, but we had capped our participants at 25. So they put 25 people on the list. You know, it's CDCR, so you get what you get. Some people showed up and like, hey, I got to duck it. I have no idea what I'm doing here. Other people didn't get their ducket till the third day. And we said, well, it's like the last 10 minutes of the movie, so we'll pull you in for our next one. So we had 19, I think, the first day. We finished with 15 because a couple guys came in and said, oh, well, I'm just signing in and I'm gonna leave. But it worked really well because we got to have, hey, Jabri, we got to have
Good evening. Oh, let me turn on that. Good evening.
so we got to have a small group and really get into the stuff and open up a vulnerable space where they could share and be open and talk about some things that they had never talked about before. So it was really nice. We had a good mix of people, of all different races. We had some veterans. We had a little bit of everybody. We had a dog come in on the first day, and I was pleasantly surprised because you know I'm a nerdy white guy, so I was like, I'll get it. I don't know if everybody's gonna get it, and I think it took it I think it landed with everybody. We had everybody from, we had from all races. We had guys that are 70-year-old African Americans and they got it. And so it was really good. So I'm going to turn it over to Morgan because she created some material for us and we were able to give them a map before we started this journey together.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. It's odd calling you Michael because I usually resort to the cutesy name since we're a married couple, but I'll be professional since we're recording it. Um I also want to just add one thing that's really kind of fun is they put sign up sheets in all the different day rooms or wherever they go. And we had mail from one of the gentlemen who joined us. He actually wrote us twice before we actually went in. And in the check-in on day one, when we're, introducing ourselves and saying, what made you sign up or what encouraged you to sign up, he was so honest and it was hilarious. He's like, well, nobody else had signed up yet, so I felt bad. So I put my name down. But by the end of day three, he was very happy, and yeah, they were all so lovely, and I know Jenny can attest. So yeah, just amazing people. But I want to recap the framework of our program and our workshop since it's been a minute since we've seen many of you. So we do a 3-day workshop that extends itself into a longer curriculum. It's wrapped in a mythic framework based on Dante's Inferno. So we do a narrative journey throughout the 3 days where Michael will recite kind of like cryptic narration bits of the story. And then we kind of go into an analogy like what stood out to you? What do you mean before we go into the teaching part of what it is? But everyone starts with this map that I'm going to walk everyone through. So we give them this map on the first day and it looks like this. And it's folded. Sorry, I don't know how to frame it. It's folded like a map. So it's just really kind of fun. Like it's like here's the ticket. I'm gonna share my screen so it's easier to see said map. Can everybody see this?
Yep.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. So this is what they receive on the first day, and it's kind of the overview, it's the story arc that we are going to take people through. So we start off at the reflecting pool where we are reflecting on our lives and how we got here. But Michael, actually, yeah, you go and start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just preface this that what we do, our premise when we go in is we teach everybody that they're the heroes of their own story. And then we introduce ideas such as suspension of disbelief, that life is a choose your own adventure, and that you have agency, you can choose to do whatever you want with your life. And no matter what has happened and how you have gotten off the straight path, by doing the work, you can get back on there and return to being the hero of your story. So, as Morgan said, we've framed this kind of in Dante's Inferno. We've also framed it in the hero's journey and like Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy and things that appealed to me growing up and appealed to a lot of the kids that I knew. That's again, this is why I said, as a geeky white kid, I figured, a lot of guys would get it, but some might not. But that was what we did. We wanted to take them on this journey, and the arc through here shows you, hey David, it shows you that you're born the hero of your story, things take you off track, and it's trauma and all these things is like having to go through the inferno, go through hell, and being stuck in the circles of hell when you're doing this stuff with trauma. And you go through there and you realize that all these things that kept you off the straight path have harmed your ability to be the hero of your own story. You've been stuck here. You've went through this, and then we take them through this journey to show that the worst thing that could be, the worst version of themselves, is their worst enemy. And once they face that, they can start the climb, right? And the climb out of it, which goes through purgatory, those who are familiar with the Divine Comedy, the Inferno, Purgatorio, Paradiso. So then we teach them, we have a code which we teach them. It's called the RAID code, RAIDD: responsibility, accountability, integrity, discipline, and dedication. And with those things, they're able to change their life, start climbing on this mountain, and become, purify themselves and be ready to be the hero of their own story again. So this is the journey that we take them on. And I put some other things in there, which, introduced houses and paths for them to be on to help them find ways that made it easier for them to be on this path. But the thing that they all understood, and which we say, is that it's not an easy journey. It's a lifelong mission, and we're going to get up there and we're going to slip and we're going to fall. But at the top of it, when we get them back to the heroic essence, that so they can reunite with their inner child, they're given a mission to go back and be a guide for others who are lost in that dark wood, who are stuck in the inferno and need somebody who can help them find their own way. Nobody can do it for you. All we can do is show some stuff that worked for me, that's worked for some other people, and that's what we taught them. And we had some really good feedback. And again, I'm going to turn it over to Morgan because I'll talk all night.
Yes, we have other speakers to get to. So quickly, just to recap what Michael said in the kind of from the trauma angle, when we start off, we're looking at our needs. What do we need when we're born? What do we need as a baby? And when those needs don't get met, how do we get them met? We use the analogy armor, that we put on different layers of armor to become. I'm gonna stop. I'm talking and no one can see me. To become something else that will get our needs met, whether that we are become more controlling, we become a people pleaser. So basically, all these layers of armor are essentially the masks that we wear to fit in and find belonging and find acceptance and find love, whether from our family or from our friends at school or society or community. So
And
over.
one thing, I'm sorry, Morgan, but how we start this is we introduce the idea that life is a series of quests. We have primordial quests to get our needs met. We have identity quests to find who we are and what our place is in the world. And then we get into the way those quests are twisted and send us down the wrong path. And she's explaining that from there. I'm sorry, I just had to get the quest idea there.
I know, I'm trying to be succinct. Okay. So in the first day, that's what we're really looking at is what do we do? Who did we have to become to get our needs met? You meet the beasts down here, if you can see my cursor, on day one as well. What the beasts represent are our quest for autonomy, but twisted into our quest for power. It's also the quest. So we sum it up to we need autonomy, we need to find meaning, and we need to find fulfillment. But when we go so far away from our inner child, from who we're meant to be, that becomes a search for glory, for power, for control, for pleasure, and it takes form in like addictions and just all the paths that lead us kind of astray. So at the end of day one, we ask them to make a choice to walk through this gate. And what this gate represents is it's the gate to the inferno, in which we're looking at all the harm that has been done to us and all the harm that has been done to others. And we really focus on trauma and trauma bonds that are formed in the Inferno. I'm just going to give the brief synopsis because I want to get to Dave and Judy. On the end of day two, we meet the beast at the bottom of the Inferno. In Dante, it's Lucifer, but in ours, we call it the Great Beast. And what that represents is our worst version of ourselves. And at the bottom of the Inferno, if you know the nine circles of hell that Dante explains, the last circle represents betrayal. And by veering from the straight path and wearing all these masks, we have betrayed ourself. And so the end of day two ends with, if you want to get out of this, come back on day three. Day three, we focus on what we call the raid code. The raid code. So they get these little cards that they can carry with them, which I did upside down, my bad. But it stands for responsibility, accountability, integrity, discipline, and dedication. And we examine different ways that we can climb out of the pit, so to speak, so that we can find what real love and belonging looks like, what real meaning and purpose feels like. And essentially, at the top of this mountain that we climb, we reunite with our inner child, which is called our heroic essence. So, I know that's a lot. You'll be hearing a lot more from us now that we've got all this structure in place. But Michael, unless you have anything else to add to that, I really want to turn it over to Dave and Judy.
Yeah, no, let's turn it over to Dave and Judy, and then we can expand on it again further if we need to.
I would love that. So we want to introduce Dave and Judy Flattery, who are super dedicated to doing this work in prisons. And we just are so grateful that they were able to join us for our first workshop ever. And so that's why we invited you all here today so we could hear their reflections on it and just talk about now how it went and what we took out of it. Like Michael said, I could talk forever, but I'm trying to be timely and appreciate, like, just keep it in an hour if we can. So I don't know who wants to go first. I'm putting you on the
I
spot.
can go. I'm happy to go. Maybe we can take turns or something. So my reflections, I just jotted down some notes. The first thing that struck me is that Michael is such a credible messenger because of what he's been through. They were blown away that he would come back and do all this work and pour his heart and soul into a program to support them. You could see that they saw him as a role model, and several of them commented that that's what they wanted to do when they got out. They wanted to come back, that he was really an inspiration. And Morgan being so generous with sharing as they're talking about the beasts and stuff like that, and talking about, the mask that you put on. I mean, just so generous in sharing that they could relate to both of you so well. And the way that you interacted with each other, everybody knew it was the first time and we're kind of feeling our way through and stuff. And they were like 100% behind you, like, come on, yeah, this is great. You're doing this. We're doing this. This is wonderful. I very much appreciated that it was 3 days. I've never been in a program that's 3 days long, but it's like it took that amount of time because of the weightiness of some of the subjects we were dealing with and it showed almost, I thought, like a deep respect for the participants. Like, this is important stuff and we want to walk through it slowly and carefully and make sure that you're taken care of and that you come out the other side. And, some of the stuff got kind of deep and heavy. And then we'd shake it off. And one of my favorite moments is when you were looking for, what's something we can do to shake it off. I said, well, I can lead the hokey pokey. And so we got up and everybody was doing put your left arm in, put your left arm out. They were all doing it and dancing. And I saw that, kind of lightened the mood. And also I noticed in one of the comments, they're like, we need more singing and dancing. And I'm like, yes, I'm up for that too. The other comment is by having, say, we have 15 or 18 people for 3 days, and the people wear name tags. And it's like by the third day, we didn't need name tags. And we still had name tags, but it's like we know all these people. You just get to feel like you know each other at such a deep and personal level. Um, Another thing is I had mentioned to one of the guys I was sitting next to that Dave and I volunteer with various different groups. And I mentioned how once I was volunteering with one group and then came back to the same prison with another group and was stunned that one of the gentlemen said, "Hey, you came in with a different group 4 months ago." And I'm like, it just blows my mind that they'd remember me. And this guy from this uh, program, just kind of stopped, looked me straight in the eyes, and he said, "I will always remember you for the rest of my life because of the impact of this program." And that just kind of blew me away. So those are some of my remembrances. What about you, Dave?
Okay. Um, yeah, I had similar ones that Michael was the perfect guy to lead this, not only just because he's credible, because he's been where those guys are, but because this is a model of his journey. I mean, he can talk about it not just abstractly, but from the experience of going through this and mapping his personal experience onto this journey. And I think that combined with the engaging the sort of playful is not the right word, but it's this sort of fantasy narrative that goes with it, really engaged everybody. And so it had them sit with the things that were harder to understand. And I think, when you look, it's a this is a graduate level hero's journey course, in my opinion. And so, it took time. And I think in the feedback, the only thing really that more than one person gave less than a 10 for was that it was easy to understand. So one guy went all the way down to a 7 out of 10, which is still pretty good. But it's complicated. But when when the participants were so engaged is when we really got people being so vulnerable and sharing such fundamental things about what has happened to them and how they can see who they became out of that, or who they pretended to be because of that. It is because they were really looking at this story, and because it, even the way it's written, you have to be paying attention. And so people pay attention, they listen to it, they're engaged, and it really took them on this journey. It was, in my experience, very unique in two aspects. One is that having the narrative, having this sort of fantasy-based narrative to map all these things on, some of which, people have worked on trauma and transformation and working on themselves. But to have it all tied together, walk them all the way through that. And on the last day, answer the question that isn't always addressed, which is, now what? Okay, so once I get healed, what do I do? How do I go forward? And so that third day of talking about the raid code and the houses and what are your values and what are you going to use, what can you choose to guide the choices you're going to make from now on, that as you're still working through all this stuff, how are you going to make your choices? And I think that was something, at least in the programs we've been through, was much more emphasized and talked about and offered to people than the other programs we've been in. And I think that's one of the distinctions of this program, is that it gives you that. And I think the armor analogy, I think the analogies all worked very well, because then it gave us it gave us a framework to put on our experiences between the quests and what they do to our armor, which is it's the same content as in other things that talk about trauma and decisions we make. But it was an analogy that fit with the narrative, kept people engaged, and they could just keep talking about it in terms of the armor they put together as they were getting to this point. So, and yeah, and I don't have a really good way to express how people who've programmed a lot, people who've been worked on a lot of had worked on stuff a lot. A lot of these guys had programmed a lot, but there was stuff that they got to, that we got to be present for that they'd never gotten to in any other program. It was really moving. Everybody was in tears multiple times. Yeah, it was very powerful, very powerful.
And
So
one thing sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just going to ask, did you guys relate to it? What did you get from it?
Yeah, I mean that of course in terms of what exactly did I get from it? I mean, I think I shared, one insight I had about part of my armor is being quiet and only speaking up when I know I've got the right answer. And I don't really know what the source of that was, but I was able to map it on there, not so much from uncovering an incident, a prior past incident, but just from really observing what resistance do I face to being my fully expressed heroic self. And so and that was just more evidence to me that this framework works. Whatever there is to work on, you can uncover it, and it's a way to think about it and work through it and go forward.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, I was a couple of comments as Dave was talking that I wanted to add in is my impression as the days went on is as we got to the next stage of the map, the guys were like on the edge of their seat, kind of like binge watching a TV show, but they were a character in the adventure. And echoing what Dave said, that when it came to, well, now what, as you're climbing out of hell or out of the inferno, it wasn't just about techniques. When you're feeling anxious, do this, or here's some things to work on. But it was like, this is your adventure. What path, how are you going to carve this path in your life and use the raid code to support that? And then for myself, as I was going through it, I noticed things like, and some of this I've noticed before, it's that I have a tendency, like I really want people to like me. So there are things that I maybe won't say, or stands that I won't take, or I may not be fully self-expressed in being an advocate, a strong advocate for something. I'll be more analytical and, middle of the road and stuff. And so for me, it was looking at, okay, so hey, is this a time for me to be a hero in my own story by being an advocate for those things that I really care about? And so what I did with that, I mean, one small step is I'm president of the Humanist Society of Santa Barbara. Yesterday we had our annual get together dinner, and I stood up and I asked people, what's something that we really care about that we would like to advocate for? You've got resources available to be able to do that. Let me know, like that. I don't know that anything particular came out of it at that point, but I mean, just the fact that I stood up and made that statement to me was a step on the path.
Thank you, Judy. Yeah, one of the main things, like I said, the whole thing is going in there to remind people that they're the heroes of their own story. They're not the villains in their story. They're not secondary characters in somebody else's story. All of us feel this way at times, especially those who've been in prison. The guys who are in the military who end up in prison, they have a lot of trouble dealing with that. But it's bringing back the idea that you have choice, you have agency. We go in and say, you're a hero, and they're like, what do you mean, right? But then we talk about it. You're born this hero of the story. You start out with these quests, and what we have done is taken all the different things from Maslow's hierarchy of needs to the different types of ways where you have to have a need met. And we've distilled those into those quests for meaning, autonomy, and fulfillment. And it all fits there. And the way that our identity quest form, saying, who am I? Where do I fit into the world? It all comes from that. So when we meet these beasts, which can be trauma, it can be lifestyle, it could be drugs and alcohol, it can be gangs, it can be any of that stuff. It keeps us from following that quest that we were supposed to be on to be the hero of our own story. And we bring them back into the idea that, we're externalizing things, right? So something I picked up from somewhere else is you're not the problem. The problem is the problem. And what we've done is externalize these things that they're dealing with as these beasts. So they can see that, oh, this beast came in and poisoned my armor. He twisted my quest. He sent me here. It doesn't take away responsibility, but it's a way to ease into this idea that you went from being a hero to now you've dealt with all this stuff and you're in the place where you are in your life. So they're able to then address that. Do you have something, Morgan?
I have many things, but keep going.
So we take them down that path and we show them those beasts. So we were actually pleasantly surprised because I had this mapped out. We wanted it all positive at the beginning. Here's how, you're the hero. Here's how you form. This armor happened. You became a people pleaser trying to do all these are good things. And thank you, Jabri. And they jumped in immediately. I mean, they were down into the pits already talking about, sexual abuse and different things happening in there. And, guys, like three guys, like I've never talked about this in my life. They're crying and hugging and, and it's like they really opened up and it united them in a way, because they were different races and different, and they were just like, wow, we have more in in common than we have of difference. And it was really great to see that they bought into it real quick. And some of the ideas, the terminology that we're using, a lot of people they're not used to it. And it was a little hard for them too, but they started talking about their being a hero, talking about the beast, talking about having their heroic essence. And one thing that I got from it was they were always saying, so what do I do? What is it? What next? And when we put it out there and we gave them a code, we gave them a path to follow and just said, hey, it's up to you, but here's some stuff that can help you. And they jumped on it. And we were fortunate because we had more people showing up that wanted to be a part of it. The guys inside were like, we went out and told people, and like now everybody wants to be here. Like we're expecting that we'll get in there and be able to deliver this message to a lot of people. But it really landed with them. And one of the things, like obviously that, I mean, I'm formerly incarcerated, and they're like, you did 27 years. Why are you here? But thank you for being here. And that was what it came down to, was they were like, we can really relate to you. What what we're going through. So, I know about count time and ducats and all that stuff. So when you're speaking the lingo, they're like, okay, this guy gets it, you know. But when I can say, hey, look, I was that guy who was never supposed to get out of prison. I did all the things. I did the politics. I did the stabbings. I did all that stuff. And then I changed. And this is the stuff that helped me change. And they really, really embrace the idea that they could be a hero. We start with the idea that it's suspension of disbelief. If you believe that you can't do something, you never will. So when you get rid of the idea that I can't do something that's even if it's impossible, you have an option to make it possible. So we started with that idea. We told them that life is a choose your own adventure book. And in those books, if you make the wrong choice, the only thing you can do is keep reading until you reach the next place where you can make a decision. That next decision, hopefully you make the right decision. But the book, life, is just like the book. It wants you to be the hero. It's going to keep giving you opportunities to the end of the book to make the right decision, to be the hero. And for some of these guys who were 40, 50, 60, one guy was 70 years old and was thinking, how can I be a hero, at this point? Um, but they understood it. Bye, Lexi. Um, the idea that you can take ownership of your narrative and write it how you want it to be. That was the stuff I needed to hear when I was in there. And I'll tell you what, the programs they were offering sure didn't tell you that. And that's what we got. Some of the feedback we got was, one of the guys like, hey, all the classes tell you do the work and you might get out. But what you told me was change, be the hero. So one guy, he said, all these classes tell you to, take your mask off to go to board and do that, then put the mask back on. He's like, you told us to throw the damn mask away. And this is the idea that once you take ownership and you can control your narrative, you can make all the choices in the future. Anything's possible. You can be free long before you're out of prison. Go ahead, Morgan. I see.
I'm doing really well on my not talking over people right now. So I'm very proud of myself in this moment. I just really want to like my biggest, being the first time we've done this and working on this with Michael, like day in, day out for months. Like we've just kind of gone into like hermit mode to create this workshop. But after having gone through the 3 days and really kind of seeing how it flows, we spent a lot of time, and this is a lot of the teaching that helped me and still helps me to this day, is talking about the armor, aka the masks. And when we're born, we don't we only need to start developing armor to find the love, the belonging, get our needs met, the fulfillment, the meaning, the autonomy in our lives, right? But the more we like the analogy I use for me is I ended up chameleoning my way through life. I would put on different masks, different layers of armor to fit in where I needed to fit in or where I thought I needed to fit in to get what I needed. Eventually, we put on so much of it, it becomes so thick. We've lost touch with ourself, our heroic essence, our inner child that's at the center of all this armor. So we spent a lot of time looking at all these layers that we will put on and wear to get what we need or what we think we need. And so we had some really great discussions about identity. And we start to identify with these layers. And then we really don't know ourselves. So a lot of questions, like a few questions that came up is not even questions, just more like revelations, is like, oh, when I get back to when I take all this armor off or when I look underneath, I have no idea who the hell I am. And I'm 60 years old sitting in prison. So it's almost like it's scary because it's different, it's new, it's undiscovered, but it's also like the key to true wholesome love. Like one of my beliefs is if we have a layer of armor on, we are not able to feel pure joy, feel pure love, feel pure anything because there's this blockage, right? And it's scary to take all the masks off because we might get hurt. So we had so many different discussions about what safety looks like, what connection looks like, because the conversations we had in that circle were healing. That doesn't happen with everybody. So, that's where our armor comes in. We're forced to wear some so we don't get hurt when we're expressing vulnerability. But it was just really interesting to examine this in a space where, if I'm identifying with my people-pleasing self, and then like my belief systems are now rooted in this. So it really just like takes everything off and like you have to build right back up from the depths of it all. But that's where freedom lies in my perspective. And so I really appreciate that we spent that time talking about attachment identity in the form of armor and quests. Um, and some of the takeaways were great. In the checkouts, we had people reflect that, they're not their crime. Um, there was hope. There was inspiration. We had a gentleman give us uh, a reflection about he's never seen himself as this hero, and now he's walking away, inspired and encouraged. And I mean, when we can love ourselves, we can love others. Like we shame ourselves based on who we think we are, but we've been told who we are based on these layers that we put on. So, but it doesn't stop us. Like there's no day too late to get to know our true selves. And go ahead, Judy.
You mentioned the guy who made the comment about he never saw himself as a hero. And the follow-up on that story is he said I read in his notes that he called his daughter and he shared about this, about how he never saw himself as a hero. And she said, I've always seen you as a hero. And he'd never heard that, and just like that kind of connection is some of the outcomes of the conversations that we had.
Thank you for sharing that, Judy. There was so much positive feedback from it.
And one thing too, Morgan, that like we tried as much as possible to give them agency to run the program as much as they could themselves, to talk about it, to explore the different concepts themselves. We went in to deliver some information, but it's up to them to understand it and to internalize it. And it was great because I went in there with one idea, like I'm presenting this concept because this is what this concept represents to me. But before I delivered it, I asked them, what did this mean to you? What do you think this is? And it was great to see how many, they took something that could have been completely negative, they made it positive. They saw it as this, they saw it as that, but it really made them think. And then every single one of them, immediately their choice wasn't to go, oh, it shows me, we talk about being lost in the dark wood. Not every single one, every single one of them, instead of going, oh, it means that I'm off track, this, that, they're like, it means that now that I'm finding my authentic self, I have to do it myself. I'm here, I'm there. So it was really, it made them think. I delivered what I thought it meant, but it works for whatever they need it to be for their story to continue. Go ahead, Hannah.
I'm just like screaming with excitement on mute over here because everything that you guys are doing is so brilliant. Just even I'm a therapist, as you know, and like you're using so many components of like proven practice. There's a whole therapeutic practice that just sees every client is chronically discouraged and like you just need to instill hope in people and remind them of their identity. And it's just like every Gabe and I talk about this all the time too, but I'm like, I think you're one of the smartest people we've ever met, Michael. Like in inviting someone into like a storyline is so brilliant because that makes everyone come alive. I don't know. Like the book The Alchemist is a classic and everyone reads that and they're like, yes, this is me. This is what I'm born for. And so just the instilling hope and like even when you say like externalizing the beasts, it's not you, it's something external is a form of a cognitive form of yeah, letting them see something outside of themselves that it's not them. And it's super, super helpful. And I mean, I could go on and on, but you're integrating so many psych components that I learned in grad school. So it's beautiful.
Thank you. And one of the things that when I went into this, we were talking about heroic archetypes and all that, but I said, I can't label anybody. I can't tell them this is what you are, this is what you're gonna be. So what I did is I looked at all these different things, you Myers-Briggs and all the Enneagram, and everyone says, this is your personality type. This is who you are. And so what we did is said, this is what happened to you, and this is how you developed. This is who you became to pursue these quests. But you can choose what type of hero you want to be in the future. You're not limited. And I keep, I showed all these different things, and I told them, I said, look, we built this whole houses and paths to get up into the mountain to purify and everything. But what I said is, no path is set. If you get there and you try it and it doesn't work, you go and you start again. You just don't give up. You just keep going and you find another way. And I'm providing some things, but even if they don't work for you, the only thing that matters is that you remember that you're the hero and you're making decisions. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I don't know nothing about what you guys are talking about, but I'm interested as hell. I'll tell you that much because I remember being in prison, man, and I would watch the Odinism guys, and see what they were doing and the Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, and I could see this, you know what I mean? I could see what's up, you know what I mean? I never knew what it was, in their homes that I ran a whole different crew, so it's different. But I'm liking it, man. I'm liking what you're doing because you explain it so perfect, man. It's like, fuck, I feel like I'm right there with you guys. Good job, man. Good job, man. I love it. I love it. I'm gonna
Thank you,
start
Joe.
coming more to your meetings, you know what I mean, just to understand it better for myself, you know what I mean? Because I could see the real positive out of it, you know what I mean? I could see these guys in their, taking a liking and applying it to their life, which is good stuff, man. I'm proud of you and your lady, man. Really, really I am.
Thank you,
Keep it
Joe.
up.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Joe. And thank you so much. And I saw Amir, you had your hand up too.
Oh, yeah. First off, amazing. Definitely amazing. Um, I have a question. I wanted to ask just real quick, like, is this only for adult prisons? Because I can see the impact this would have on juveniles. That's where my mind is at right now. I can see the impact this would have on juveniles.
Well,
Um, yes, go ahead.
I would just say, I mean, it's not for prisons at all. It's for everybody.
Ah, okay, okay.
It's not limited to prison. It's not limited to adult. I mean, obviously we may have to adjust some of the content for minors because, some of it is very difficult. But the idea that we're the heroes of our own story and that we can take control of our narrative is it's universal. I think every one of us needs that.
Mm, awesome, awesome.
It's coming, Emma. She asked when we're gonna lead it on Zoom out here. We'll make it happen. We really love and appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for just your support. And Ted, was that a wave or your
Yeah,
hand?
no, that was. I just want to say that it sounds amazing. It sounds like a wonderful program. It sounds like something that's just going to get better and richer as you do more of it, and you kind of discover what this path is for all these different people. And what I really want is, I mean, I want to hear the stories. I want to see the paths. I want to follow these people as they go through this Dantean journey and talk about their experience. Because I mean, what I want to do with all this prison stuff that we're doing is tell these stories and bring the world these stories because I feel like these are amazing people and they've been through all kinds of things that are the most challenging stuff that anybody can ever go through. And they're doing something with that and they're turning that into something productive and wonderful. And the world doesn't hear about this. Nobody knows these stories. They're all in these prisons that are in the middle of nowhere. Got to drive up to Soledad or Chino or God only know Pelican Bay. I mean, and they're just like they're warehousing these places, and they're these more remarkable people. And I've been through so many prisons and so many wonderful stories. So I'd love to keep following it. And someday I'm going to come and bring my cameras, and we're going to tell these stories.
Absolutely. You're always welcome with us, Ted. We
I'd love to
definitely
come along sometime. I really would. I got a little busy suddenly, but I would love let me know because I would love to come.
yeah. and it's important, for me, like the important thing is for people to see success. They need to see that transformation is possible. They need to see that, just because we went in at 14, 15 years old or whatever, that, that's no reason to throw somebody away. Everybody should get the chance to rehabilitate, and given that opportunity, most people will take it. Some of us are dumbasses and it takes a while. I'll raise my hand for that, but it happens. Go ahead, Judy.
Yeah, you can count on Dave and I to go in with you anytime you need us, and our calendar's free. I'm just wondering, what do you need from the rest of us, all of us here who are, is there anything else any other kind of support you need that we might be able to provide?
Well, we definitely, we want to take in volunteers, and we go in, we don't just do the workshops. We're hoping to bring classes, we're going after grants and everything. Amir does reentry. We're going to take him in with us so he can talk to some guys and bring stuff here, but we want to bring everybody together and help meet needs. We don't provide everything. Nobody provides everything, but we can work together to provide it. We're working with Brian. He's bringing in a great program. But we are a new nonprofit. We're always looking for funding. We're looking for grants. So if you know anybody that has a lot of money and wants to help get a program going, like we could use that, and we need it to help keep this going and to take it to everybody. That is it's our mission. We laugh, we joke and say, even if we're living in the car, we'll drive up and down the state and take the program in there. All I need to do is pay, $200 a month for the gym membership and 200 for the storage unit, and I got everything covered. But if you hear of any grants, of any foundations or anyone that is open to funding a nonprofit that's taking this message to people inside and people outside, please let us know.
Thank you.
You got it.
And there's so many here that all work in the field. Amir works in the field, Wynn works in the field, Joe, Hannah's Chandra, so Dennis, Jenny, like everybody here has seen the value of this work and has taken it upon themselves. Ted as well. He's the big producer of the prison. But we appreciate you. We are a part of this community, and we're a community together, and we all have to work together to make, to meet the needs of those that we serve.
No.
That was a great reflection of our windows right here because we're all involved in one way, shape, or form. And I've gotten to know Chandra over the last couple of months and what she's doing. And it's just like it's all helpful and it's all changing lives and it's just all so beautiful. Go ahead, Joe. Big Joe.
I was just thinking about it, man. We got to figure out a way to get you guys like a motorhome kind of deal where you guys could just take off and go away from one spot to the next. You know what I mean? That would be so cool, eh? Like if we could figure out a way, or somebody who has a motorhome that just parked in their back. And
Like with the person we all know that has that motorhome,
you
Joel's
know what I
already
mean?
offered to let us use it. So
Yeah, Big Joe,
Man,
I like where your head's at because my whole like social feed is van life, which
yeah,
I'm
man.
all for. And like we want to eventually move out of expensive LA at some point.
Right,
Gonna help us.
right.
So hey, we're game. We're totally game. And before anybody has to leave, I will get to you, Amir. But before anyone has to leave next time, I want to take a Zoom photo if you're game. Thanks for the suggestion, Win. But go ahead, Amir. I saw your hand up again.
Yeah, I'm got two whole pages full of notes and everything. But yeah, I would think that have you all put like a small, not the actual program, but like a small like presentation because I'm thinking already I need to get you guys to go to Texas and Virginia with me, where my group already has some pretty rooted, and I'm thinking already. Do you have like a small presentation, or would you mind doing like a small presentation just to my little group, and I, not me taking it, but say, hey, look, we need to work with these people, because I'm thinking I did 25 years. You did a lot of time. I did a lot of time. But of mine, I did 28 months in the hole. And I remember trying to figure out a way how to occupy my mind. Because I had an older guy used to bring the trays around. He said, hey, look, man, you got to keep your mind right. Keep your mind right. That right there, your program is something that could be, what I'm saying, for a gentleman sitting back there and just not letting his mind eat itself. He could go and just have these programs. If you had like, I don't know what you have, a workbook or however, but whatever it is, if you had like a small presentation of some sort, I'd like you to present that to my group. And
It,
hell, I'd like to go in with you guys, but you guys need to come to Texas and Virginia ASAP. We got to get you out there. For real.
Absolutely.
we will,
Uh,
and that's another thing quickly before Michael responds is like if we'll present, we'll pitch, like if anybody else has context, but the answer, Amir, is yes. Go ahead,
and
Michael.
what we don't have, we'll put together. Because
Yeah.
Morgan's
Right.
great. You should see all the stuff that she's put together.
Yeah, Amir, absolutely. This is,
Okay.
this is how we grow. This is how we all grow. This is how we help more people. That's important to us. And you're
Definitely.
going to come in with us. We want to come in with you. And that goes the same for anybody here, really. It's,
And yeah, and when you come out here too, and even before, I mean, definitely want to connect you to Joe and Michelle. They're the housing gurus out here. Win works with another organization. I mean, everybody here, we're so like we definitely wanted to get everybody in contact.
and if we go to
Maybe to
Texas, we got to go see Dennis.
go ahead, Joe. You're on mute, Joe. You're still muted, Joe.
Oh, my bad. I pushed the wrong one. Okay, so Amir, what is your business, my brother?
Say again?
What is your business? I see sober, but what
Oh no,
is?
this is one of my sponsors. This is one of
Oh, okay.
our group sponsors is Sober H2O. Shameless plug, I apologize. Um, yeah, and it's a guy I met out here, and I'm in Nevada. Wait, this is not about me right now, but listen. How about you hit
No,
me
this
up,
is
let's change, and then we'll talk about it
yeah.
later.
Okay, yeah. I'll
Yeah,
put
let's
my
do that.
yeah. I just want to know what
He does
Well,
your
I do
reentry
business.
reentry,
stuff, Joe.
reentry. I do reentry work.
Okay, cool. Get down. That's
Yes,
all.
sir.
You
Okay.
guys, you guys should connect. But Joe, while you're on video, let's take, if everyone's okay with it, let's take a picture.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
I don't
Is
know
there
how you,
Yeah. Okay. So three, two. Oh, hang on. How do I do it? Hang on 1 second. Shoot. I've lost my key strokes here. Hang on. What am I doing? Oh, wait. I got it. I got it. I remember now. Okay. Okay. Ready? Three, two, one. Thank you.
all right. Thank you.
I was also gonna say I have so many things I want to talk to you guys about and so many ideas, so maybe later is a better time. But obviously, with community as therapy, I know the power of storytelling and that being a big avenue for people to understand people better. And so, any way that I can promote what you guys are doing, or just even I know in vulnerable settings and group settings, it's if there's a camera in there, it's harder for people to open up. But even Michael, to film you and Morgan talking about this program, or even if individuals want to share their stories, I will promote the heck of it out of it on community as therapy. And I'm having the same ideas as Amir with you coming to Indy, because we're working with incarcerated dads right now and their kids, and it's giving them a lot of hope to see their kids and want to do better. But again, they can pass this knowledge on to their kids. So yeah, a lot to, I'll text y'all, but
Well, next time you come back out here, we'll get together too.
yeah, let us know the next dates because we'll be out there January and February. So
Awesome. Thank you, Hannah. And I
Bye,
know it's,
Ted. Thank-
yeah, but I wanted to say bye to Ted. It's top of the hour. We know it's late for some, so feel free to take care of your needs, but get in touch with us. You know where how to find us all. And Michael, did you have anything else, or Dave or Judy or anybody? I mean, we're just gonna keep this open till everyone
All
goes.
right, guys. Well, you have a good
thank,
night, man. I had a good time with you guys. We'll talk
thank you,
again,
Joe.
Morgan and,
Hey,
and
Joe,
Mike.
we'll
Thank
get
you
up.
so
Joe,
much. Yes, sir.
we'll get up.
Yeah. All right, my brother. You take care, guys. Take
Yes,
care.
sir.
Bye-bye.